This interview contains minor, only mostly devastated spoilers.
Hi everyone, welcome back to A Very Queer Book Club. Today I'm super excited to be sitting down with a panel of readers to discuss Only Mostly Devastated, its connections to Greece, the representation within it, and a whole lot more. So it's a fantastic conversation. If you've still not purchased your copy of the book, you can do so by following the link in the description below to purchase it from Little Shop of Stories in Decatur, Georgia. And also, just like with towards the end of every month, at the end of this video, there will be a sneak peek as to the book for next month. So let me know in the comments below if you think you can guess what it is. And so without any further ado, please enjoy this conversation about Only Mostly Devastated. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to chat about Only Mostly Devastated. The first thing I would love to do, if we could go around real quick and just give me your names, pronouns, and where you're coming to us from.
I will start. My name is Ben. I am from Wyoming, and right now Montana is where I go to school, and he, him, his.
My name is Greg, Gregory, people call me Greg. I'm originally from Curacao, but I live in the Netherlands at the moment, and my pronouns are also he and him.
Hi, my name is Jacob McKee. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia.
Amazing. And so just the first thing, just kind of jumping in, I'd love to hear your first, original, just first thoughts after having read the book, like your just initial reaction.
My initial reaction was because I heard about it, I think, a year in advance, and I heard that it was a sort of queer version of Grease, and I loved Grease growing up, so I was really excited about reading it. While reading it, I saw the similarities, and the ending it really touched my heart in a way.
Right, yeah. I was excited for it too. I am a musical theater BFA, so I really have a respect for Grease. It has a nostalgic place in my heart. And people were always like, oh, you need to read this book. And for whatever reason, I hadn't picked it up before this panel. And I was just I was really into it. I thought it was very cute. I was very surprised with how mature it was in a lot of moments, especially surrounding the plot line of the aunt. I had a good time reading it.
I really, really, really enjoyed Only Mostly Devastated. I love a musical theater tie-in, so I loved the Grease tie-in, and the fact that there was a good bit of bisexual representation as a bisexual person, that meant a lot to me. And in general, I really, really, really identified with the main character and his arc there. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time reading it.
Amazing. And are there any specific moments that really stuck out, whether it be in terms of the maturity that you mentioned, or what my goal is getting more queer teenagers to read these books and find the representation. So is there any moment specifically that you found great representation in, or that you just loved in general?
For me, I think it was when Ollie realized that the relationship with Will was kind of one-sided, because he had asked so much of Will, but then realized oh shit, I haven't really done much for him as much as I've asked for me. And I see that a lot with relationships, especially with my own friends. It's a lot one-sided. I'm just you can't just take and take, you have to give as well. So for me, that was just amazing.
I generally was very attached to the entire character arc of Lara. Her whole, I'm a big sucker for a character that sort of is closed off and learns to open up. And her whole arc sort of hit home with me in that way. Certainly not really a problem that I personally went through, but something that I've seen other people go through and can sort of attach memory to. So I really, really, really enjoyed that in particular. I thought that was very well executed, and I thought that the way that it was sort of figured out was very realistic, having gone through something similar myself.
Yeah, I will say that there are a few moments for me. One has nothing to do with representation. I just really like the way right after Okay, are we allowed to get spoilery? I don't really want to, but
It's been out since March, so.
okay. So right after, there's a moment, you know, where the aunt has passed away, and he's just really contemplating, like what death means to him. And I was like, oh, this guy's like in my head. Like Ollie knows what's up. um, and then I also really appreciated what they did to make Greece more modern, because a lot of people I go to school with, I have talked to, really don't like Greece because even though it's nostalgic for a lot of us, it's really kind of has like some themes and elements people really are not into. So I think by like updating the diversity of the groups and like that really helped. And I think what really helped me was to make Sandy and Danny a queer romance, because I feel like it makes a lot more sense, and you feel a lot more sympathy for the Danny character Will when he's like in the closet, and that like that's why he's not telling anybody, versus just like he's too cool for it.
That was actually my next question. What did you know? I just want to kind of talk about the Grease connection. What did you think about it? Do you think, obviously, to me, it really, really was like very, very Grease heavy at the first couple chapters, and then it kind of took its own plot, and there's still obviously Easter eggs thrown out. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Grease connection, and did you think it worked? Did you think it didn't work? Is there any specific Easter eggs that you picked up on that you liked?
Yeah, for me, I really, again, just like you, I realized it in the beginning as well, and then it just kind of took its own pace. But for me, my favorite connection was Laura and her connection with what's her name, Rizzo, because like in the beginning, Rizzo was this really bitchy character. Then in the end, you realize, oh shit, she is actually this great person. She just has this heart out of her shell, and the same with Laura.
So my favorite, I think, one of my favorite songs in Greece is "Those Magic Changes," C C C C C C A minor F, and there's a scene in there that like directly evokes that, where I think it's been a little while since I've read it, but I think he's teaching his cousins how to play guitar. And he's using those chords, and so like a specific shout out to that song was really nice for me.
I really liked Laura as Rizzo too. I love the character of Rizzo. That's like my favorite part of the original Grease. So I definitely agree with that. And then also just like connection that I see is that Grease is very character heavy, and so is Only Mostly Devastated. Like neither of them skimp out on making you like the side characters. They give the side characters lots of personality, lots of depth, and I really like that.
And you guys you're just like nailing this just transition thing for me, because my next question was just about like the side characters and who did you, because I feel like one thing I did love most about this is the great character development, not just the two main romantic leads, but also all the side characters. And are there any other side characters that you really loved, and why?
For me, it would have been Darnell and Matt, because I also had friends like that who would constantly make like homophobic jokes, and when I was in the closet, I would just like sit and laugh and be like, yeah, that's really funny. And then after I came out, they came up to me and they were like, did you find this offensive? Like, we were just joking. It's like I had to explain to them that like sometimes it was quote unquote funny, sure, but other times it was just really offensive and hurtful, and I couldn't really say or do anything at the time. And I love that they actually took the time to realize their mistakes, just like the characters did. So that part I really enjoyed, and I loved the depth of the side characters as well.
I really like the other pink ladies. I guess in this book they're kind of the rose ladies, but yeah, I really appreciated Juliet as a character. I really liked the bond that she ended up forming with Ollie, and how they were kind of like bonded over music, because I really like music, and I just really appreciated how they were like trying to help each other succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I was really attached, especially for the first like little bit of the book, to Neve, sorry, and Juliet, and then obviously Aunt Linda. was a big one, and that one was there's a sort of a personal connection there for me that sort of like lended to that relationship, and that I feel like can be exemplified by anyone who sort of had a family member or someone close to them go through something like that, which I thought was executed just perfectly by Sophie. And yeah, Aunt Linda was a highlight for sure.
On the, the idea of the side characters, it kind of just for fun, if you had to quarantine with one of these characters, which one would you pick and why?
Just a side character or main character as well?
Any character.
Probably Juliet. I feel like she would just have the most fun, or whenever something's down, she just try to make things better.
Oh my God. I mean, I loved Laura by the end. But I think I would probably quarantine with Ollie, because I feel like we would get along. Like I like all the characters a lot, for the most part. But I don't really like Will's bros, even though they ended up being pretty good guys in the end. Spoilers. But I think Ollie would be the one I would probably quarantine with, because he was the one I feel like I identified with the most.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few answers because I really like a lot of these characters. My first answer is Will. I'm crushing hard and he's very cute. And then my other answer is actually Aunt Linda. I felt like there were scenes where I just felt like she really got Ollie, and it was just like a really obvious, it was really obvious why people respected her and loved her and just wanted to be around her for as much time as they possibly could. And I'm like, I would love to chill with this woman for a day and just see what like life advice she gives me.
Well, and on that, with Aunt Linda, that's one of my favorite departures from the whole Grease thing. I think that was, and I feel like it was also so exciting to see a grown-up that was just 100% supportive. They didn't have any type of coming to terms that they had to deal with. So I wanted to know, in terms of like any departures from Grease, any other moments, maybe specifically Aunt Linda, do you have any thoughts on any moments that you really enjoyed that maybe weren't so Grease heavy?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think that's the biggest departure from Grease that I really like. Part of it is also because when I was reading it, I was just like, oh, that's Grease. That's Grease. Like, here's the little things that I know. Like, oh, they're at the school dance and there's, the other girl. But I really did appreciate, and I really appreciated the Rizzo character being queer as well. That made me very happy. And it made me very happy that when she came out, the T-Birds stood up for her and like were just like really like, I don't know, that was really nice to see.
In general, I liked how the sort of culture was translated to the modern day. I particularly loved the focus on music, because I think that music is such and maybe this is a bad answer to this question, because I feel like it sort of relates to Grease in a way, because it is a musical. But I feel like using music as a narrative device to sort of connect them is such a modern day thing. And I know that like I've had experiences with that, where like music will connect me with other people in ways that are deeper than a normal conversation might be able to. I've had friendships that are wholly founded on music taste that is similar. And so I feel like utilizing that as a narrative device to sort of bring Ollie's journey to a line, to sort of like zero him back into his to where he was going was a really, really, really clever and beautiful departure from how that normally happens.
The one thing that I love about this, and I thought was very interesting, because Sophie, the author's from Australia, is that she seemed to really kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of like small town life for queer people, at least in my opinion, in the United States, because I grew up in a small town. What do you think about that? I mean, I know you're in the Netherlands, so but I mean, this kind of, what did you think about this in terms of getting kind of a lens into small town life, and then what did you think about it in terms of telling the story about small town life in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I mean, there's nuances to every area of the South that are hard to capture, but I mean, I think that she did a really lovely job of capturing the strokes of the South, as it were. And I mean, having lived here literally my whole life, the book takes place in North Carolina. Yeah. And that's not a place that I have a lot of personal experience in. I've lived in Georgia and Florida, and have a lot of family in South Carolina. But yeah, I mean, I feel like as far as like sort of, and the thing I loved about it, which I need to say, is that it didn't get very stereotypical. Like I certainly felt like that emphasis on family that is in a lot of Southern communities was there. But that there were still things that were that were that these people sort of looked on as weird, right? Like I feel like there's a certain ostracization to Ollie and his band that's happening. I feel like there's a certain like narrative of one of the characters wants to go to New York and become a model, and I feel like that career path is sort of something that people sort of look at with a degree of skepticism. And that's all, especially in the South, and that's all very like real stuff that I think Sophie portrayed very well.
Well, I originally moved to the Netherlands a few years ago, but I spent the first 22 years of my life on Curacao. And it's a very small island, and it's progressing slowly, but I did feel connected with the like small town life thing because, yeah, like I said, growing up, it was difficult for me coming out and coming to my sexuality. So I completely understand the whole small town, I'll say mentality thing. And I do, sort of, sorry, I understand that how hard it is for people in the US as well. Because back home, it's not really all that different, but it's not as, like, let's say violent as it would be.
Yeah, I actually really liked, I grew up in a very small town, and one that was not quite as racially diverse, so I enjoyed the racial diversity of this town a lot. But I will say that like there are moments where Ollie's talking a lot about, because I was never a Will, I was a Will up until I was about 14-ish, and then I was able, luckily, to come out and like be openly gay. And at that point on, I kind of became an Ollie, where it was very much like I didn't have to come out anymore because everyone just knew, and I didn't really know if that was like a good thing or a bad thing. It just kind of was the way it was. And, you know, I would hear that people were like saying really horrible things about me, but I'd never hear them say it. And then every time somebody told me, I'd kind of be like, okay, well, like, did you say anything? Like, do you... And it was just like, it's a very weird experience to know that people are talking about you for something that you know, have already found like peace in yourself within. And then that you're still like kind of upset that they're talking about it. It's like, it's just a weird dichotomy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated the exploration of it.
And one thing I wanted to talk about, the idea of having to open up and, you know, acknowledge that maybe you haven't done as much for
The person that you're trying to date.
in the kind of the dedication at the beginning. Sophie says, you know, this is for anyone who is in their quest to be cared for another person forgot to care about themselves. Your needs matter too. And so while, yes, I love the idea that, you know, Ollie has to understand that he has to kind of make sacrifice for Will, one thing I do love about this is the idea of taking care of yourself as well. And so I wanted to know if either of you had any thoughts about that, because it was in the dedication. So obviously it was very important to Sophie.
I definitely agree with that because from personal experience, it took a lot for me to like openly take care of myself because I'm the kind of person that would put literally everyone else's needs above my own. So if I'm doing something and my friend is like, hey, can you help me with this small minor task? If I'm doing something really important, I would literally ditch everything I'm doing, just help my friend or just anyone who would ask. And it took me a long time to actually realize like I have to take care of myself first, and it's not selfish or bad to say no every now and then. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. And I will say that I'm kind of the opposite, where I tend to really get in my own head and just like think about my own problems a lot. And that's also really not great. And it's like, it's not helpful to my friends, to anybody around me, to have me really only focusing on like my issues all the time, and it's not helpful to me either. And I really also appreciated as well that Ollie at the end realizes that he needs to do something for Will, because it's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's kind of how Grease ends too, except, you know, in Grease, it's kind of, she decides that she needs to become like this bad girl. And in this, it really is like much more selfless, and they don't have to change anything about themselves. They're just making sure that they're taking care of each other's needs and wants, and just helping each other in this relationship.
I think that dedication goes into more than just Ollie. Like, I think that Ollie is obviously the biggest example of that, where how he learns to stand up for himself and learns to sort of like ask for what he wants and ask for what he needs. But I mean, you could say that about literally every character in the book. You could say that theme is present with Will, who's denying him his happiness in order to try and achieve this sense of coolness. You could say that about Neve, who sort of compromises with her friends for a while before finally standing up and taking charge of her life and going off to do this thing. You can say that about Juliet, who is sort of like anxious about this, I believe it's clarinet audition that she has, and things like that. And Lara especially too, like, I think has a problem where she sort of thinks that by only caring about herself, she's doing the job of doing the work for herself, and sort of learns to open up and let other people in and let other people help her through that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a theme that is reflected tenfold throughout the book. And I mean, I think honestly, if you dig, the only character that really already has it figured out from the beginning is Aunt Linda.
You know, if someone, you know, kind of came to you, and if you had to give like a little elevator pitch, rather, you know, for this book, if someone was like, should I read this book? Why would I like it? You know, in like just a quick sentence or two, what would you say to that person?
Well, first I would ask if they like Grease or not, because that's the main inspiration for this. But then I would say something along the lines of, it has, just growing up, some maturity, some talk about life, and it makes you think as well about death, about relationships, about people, and the things you say.
Yeah, I would recommend this actually, I think, to somebody who hates Grease and like hates it because of the reasons of like, oh, it's outdated, it's too too sexist, too whatever. I'd be like, well, do you want an adaptation that's like really modern and beautiful and I don't know, just a very easy, relaxing, fun read? Yeah, that's how I would sell this book. It's just it's the type of book you bring to the beach with you when you're on vacation for a week, and you finish it the first 2 days, and then you reread it because you want to live in that world a little bit longer.
So the way I've sort of described it before is, I say, I think you would really like this book. It's a really cute queer love story based loosely on Grease, and it's just delightful. I've recommended it to a couple of people, and that's how I've described it. So there's your elevator pitch. And it's so interesting because, and I'll say this really fast and then be done with this question. But like, I tell people that it's because of Grease, because that sort of like perks their interest. So I think that was a good jumping off point, but I do love how it sort of like leaps out from there and doesn't stick to that, because it becomes something so much fuller and so much better for children and youth and everyone's than Grease is. Not that the music of Grease is beautiful and stuff, but like, the story, and this story is definitely not. So I think that she takes Grease and makes it what it should have been.
So the last thing I want to ask, and so we've gone from like a sentence or two, I'd like to go down even more. If you had to sum up how this book made you feel in either a word or a sound, what would that word or sound be? And that will take us off.
It made me feel warm.
Amazing.
It just made me feel like I was like being hugged.
I guess conscious.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, when reading it, it was a little eye-opening for me, and it made me revisit some old feelings I had as well. Because yeah, I also had a relative that passed away from cancer, and after I read the death scene and how they handled it, I was just bawling my eyes out. I called my mom, and she was like, "Why are you crying?" It's like, "Yeah, I read this book, and now I'm thinking of Grandpa." So, but it made me conscious about that, and like my friends and how like I was treated as when I was smaller, and now it just opened my eyes a little bit more. So I would say conscious.
It's really beautiful. I love when I open a book, or I don't love this, but I think it's funny when I open a book and there's, a person who is deathly ill, because you're kind of like, oh, I see where this is going. And, this is going to really get me. It's like Chekhov's cancer patient almost. It's really sad, but um, I also thought that was really beautiful. I really appreciated the death. I haven't had anybody really close to me yet, luckily, pass away. So I think I was more into the romance, even though I really appreciate the death. And so I think my word would either be cute or like aw, or like, I don't know, I like warm, made me feel very warm.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me. This has been fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this week. On Monday, next week, I will be announcing the book for October for A Very Queer Book Club, but I will be putting a little bit of a sneak peek hint right here. This is a video clip from a TV show I appeared on that featured the gay Christian camp that I attended every summer in high school. So I'm gonna put a little sneak peek right here. Let me know if you think that lets you know what book is for next month. And until then, have a fantastic week.
At a summer camp in Minnesota, 17 teenagers are learning how to reconcile what can feel like two conflicting identities, Christian and gay.
Well, that is the sneak peek for next month's book. If you look hard enough, I am in that clip. That is the group of us playing Show Tunes Kickball, the only sport I've ever been team captain for and the only sport I've ever been good at. So yes, let me know if you first see me in that clip or if you think you know what book is for next month. And until then, have a fantastic week.